I've had some time to simmer down.
Yes! Yes!
If you can't tell, it's been a rough morning. It's been an emotional morning. There have been so many things to talk about, topics of conversation. So I figured we would take some time right now and talk about all of the madness that we just got with the Oscar nominations. You guys have been with me for months now, doing predictions over and over, getting things wrong and at the same time right, and it's just so much fun. It's a great process. It's always a good time making these kinds of videos, and if you're here watching right now, I want to say welcome. How you doing? Be sure to leave your comments and remarks down below. After having time to process everything, what was the biggest surprise, the biggest snub, and the best thing that happened? Let's go positive with it. The best thing that happened at the Oscars this morning, and how did you feel about some of these nominations? We're just going to go through the categories, some a lot quicker than others. Of course, focus on one in particular, Best Director, a snub that I feel like I'm going to rant on. So when we get there, we get there. And if you guys are here and you like this video, be sure to drop your thumbs up down below. That tells me you want more. The algorithm would like me more if you did that. I want to start here with the Oscar nomination tally, thanks to Matt Neglia, who laid it out perfectly on Twitter. He's a fantastic follow for award season, by the way, next best picture. Let's start at the top here with, as expected, the #1 overall in terms of how many nominations did you get, The Power of the Dog, which right now is the definitive frontrunner for Best Picture. We'll talk about why here in just a bit. Next up is Dune with 10, should be 11, still salty, followed by Belfast, which was at one point a frontrunner. Don't think it is now. West Side Story with 7, tied with Belfast. That's kind of a shock for me because it was trending downward until today, but today cemented... it's kind of a contender. It's here to stay, which I love to see. I love the film. It's one of my favorites of last year. King Richard with 6, Don't Look Up, and Drive My Car with 4, as well as Nightmare Alley. It's kind of a shock to see Nightmare Alley up there, especially with the fact that it bombed at the box office. Nobody really saw it. People are seeing it now, and I think people should see it now. But those 3 movies with 4 being the Ricardos. Thank God, only 3, along with Coda, Encanto, Flea, Licorice Pizza, The Lost Daughter, and No Time to Die. So I think Macbeth got 3 as well. So all of those movies in the same conversation, same category. No real shock for me other than Belfast getting less than expected. West Side Story, in my heart, getting as expected, but getting a bit more than expected according on where we were. And then, Dune should have gotten more. Austin, does Dune have a shot to win Best Picture? It's hard for me to say yes because Denis Villeneuve did not get the nomination. But with 10 nominations overall, and we've seen films before that didn't really have a shot, Mad Max Fury Road with a ton of nominations, lots in the technical categories, yada, yada, yada. But I'm not going to say it doesn't have a chance. But right now, the picture that has been painted that's pretty clear, it's The Power of the Dog, is the heavy favorite for Best Picture. But let's go into the individual categories and kind of, now that I've had time to process, talk about what got snubbed, what made it, and didn't. The only real surprise with me for original screenplay is The Worst Person in the World getting into that final spot. I thought they would go being the Ricardos. I thought for sure, because Ricardos has been getting the love elsewhere in other award shows. And again, we clearly don't base predictions off of what we want to happen. Ricardo's was just trending in that direction, so I was so happy to see. I mean, if any other movie was going to get it, it would be The Worst Person in the World. And I said yesterday in my nominations predictions video, Worst Person in the World has a chance, but could it really beat out a Hollywood movie by Hollywood, for Hollywood? And it did. It almost did the impossible. A foreign language film that was right outside of my top 10. No, it was in my top 10. Was it in my top 10? Yeah, I think it was number 10 last year. A phenomenal movie that deserves to be in the top 5, absolutely. And then the other 4, yes. Again, Don't Look Up. The screenplay for me didn't quite do it, but I knew it was happening because of Adam McKay. Okay, let's go into the next one here, and that is adapted screenplay, and no surprises at all. I switched at the last second, put Drive My Car in there. Glad I did. It got that nomination, and Dune got in as well. I was a little worried about Dune in this category. I thought if there was any category that it was going to get snubbed, it clearly wasn't this one, which was good. I'm happy to see at least Denis Villeneuve and Eric Roth and John Spates in there in some capacity. Visual effects. I had someone comment on my video this morning. They're like, Austin, Matrix, ha ha. And I'm like, hey, whoa. I didn't want Matrix to be in there over some of these other films, but who knew that Matrix would be the one to get snubbed? It's been getting nominations across the board. I mean, everywhere. So I thought for sure Matrix was going to be in. I mean, it was a lock for me, so I was dead wrong on that one. I also, at the end of the day, was wrong. I thought they would snub one of the Marvel films. I chose Spider-Man, and I said, if they're going to snub anything, it's going to be Shang-Chi, because they're not snubbing Spider-Man in this category. But then as it was going, and as we got Shang-Chi, I said, I guess they are going to snub Spider-Man. And then I thought to myself, no Ghostbusters. If there's a movie in this category that's been trending in the right direction as of late, and a lot of talk surrounding that final shot, that final scene in the film, it was Ghostbusters. So the way that it was trending, its trajectory just got halted with this category. And we got 2 Marvel movies, which is so rare. I mean, how often, and granted, we're getting a lot more Marvel movies than we ever have, but how often do we get 2 Marvel movies in the effects category? Most of the time, we don't even get 1. So this was really cool to see. If you're asking me my personal opinion, I think Shang-Chi's effects are way better than Spider-Man's, but Spider-Man is one of my favorite movies of last year, so I'm a little biased when it comes to that. No Time to Die and Dune, and then the other one is Free Guy, man. Free Guy took that spot, and I was happy to see it. I mean, Free Guy's effects were really cool. It's a movie based in and around a fake video game, but yeah, the effects are great. Godzilla vs. Kong didn't really have a shot, but if you're asking me, I think that was one of the personal best of last year. The sound category, my top 3 got in there: Dune, West Side Story, and No Time to Die. The other 2 being Belfast and Power of the Dog, which last second I took out Belfast and put in A Quiet Place Part 2. I got the BAFTA nod for A Quiet Place Part 2, and I said, that's it. It just needs 1, because how on God's green earth do you watch A Quiet Place Part 2 and then you put in Belfast or Power of the Dog over it? It doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense to me, but these people are apparently a lot smarter, so you got that. And then I also thought Spider-Man would get in. You know, the fact that it only got 1 Oscar nomination, to me, is kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts because of how big the film was, how respected the film was, the fact that it got great scores across the board. I mean, Letterboxd, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, all of those things, and it got 1 Oscar nomination. So I said, if it gets it anywhere else, it's got to be sound, right? But it wasn't. You have 2 of the bigger contenders for Best Picture in Power of the Dog and Belfast. So I guess that makes sense. So we'll keep going here. I want to skip the short film categories because I know nothing about the short film categories. So I'm skipping them. Production design: Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. This one's on me, man. I took out The Power of the Dog and put in Cyrano. Cyrano got 1 nomination. Cyrano just got destroyed, and I even said this yesterday. They moved the release day. They shuffled it so many times, and not a lot of people have had the chance to see the movie. I mean, they got screeners out. I have a screener sitting over there, but not a lot of people have seen the movie, so it's like, it makes sense that it didn't get it. And then the other film that didn't get it, this was even more surprising, The French Dispatch. I don't think The French Dispatch got an Oscar nomination this year. This one right here. That is crazy to me. I liked The French Dispatch. I didn't love it. Like, it's not my favorite movie, but I am very surprised it didn't get any love at the Oscars this year. So, wait, what do I know? And then you have the West Side Story, not the West Side Story, just West Side Story. It got in. Again, getting those nominations that I expected it to get a month ago, then I didn't. And it got him, which is, again, great to see. So, Macbeth, yes. Nightmare Alley, yes. It'll be between Nightmare Alley and Dune, I believe, for the winner. But it's nice to see Macbeth get it as well. Some of the best production design I've seen in years. Let's move into the next one. We'll come back to Best Picture. Let's go to Best Original Song, Be Alive. So, all of these were like, yes, 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 yeah. Somehow you do 4 Good Days. I can't tell you what that sounds like. I have no clue. I still haven't listened to it. I'm sure I'll recognize it. I didn't see 4 Good Days. I know I'm a bad person. I should have seen it. I should have been Austin. You've got to know everything. No, didn't know it. So, the one that didn't get in was, what was it? Just Look Up from Don't Look Up. So that's a little surprising. It was a very popular song, but hey. Diane Warren. There you go. I love her. Best original score, no big surprises here, except for the inclusion of Parallel Mothers for me. I thought if Parallel Mothers got in, Encanto would be out, but it was actually Parallel Mothers got in and The French Dispatch was out. So that's the two categories. I really thought The French Dispatch had a shot. Didn't get in there. Didn't get in here, so no Oscar nominations. What a bummer for that film. But Parallel Mothers, I like the score. Not the most memorable score I've ever heard, but good. I have to go listen to it to remind myself. Makeup and hairstyling went as expected. All 5 in the last second coming to America. I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I made that switch because it made all of the sense in the world. It happened. International feature film. The one for me here is Lunana? A Yak in the Classroom. I haven't seen this film. Was kind of unaware of this film. Did not expect it. It shocks me, though. It shocks me that Parallel Mothers was not its country's nomination because you see how many other nominations it got. It would have absolutely got in. I don't understand that. For some, I just don't understand it. Didn't get in, obviously, because it wasn't submitted. But the other 4, yeah, easy, and I think Drive My Car getting the Best Picture nomination. I think it's going to run away with this, but do not count out The Worst Person in the World, because I love that movie too. Editing, I took out Don't Look Up for Power of the Dog. I guess I'm kind of glad I did it, because Power of the Dog is on there. But what I did not expect was Tick, Tick, Boom. Coming in and taking the spot of something like a Licorice Pizza. I thought Licorice Pizza was on its way, getting a couple of editing nominations, but no Tick, Tick, Boom. Took its spot, and I'm kind of glad it did because Tick, Tick, Boom was one I had on there, I believe, 2 months back in my predictions video. It makes all the sense in the world because it's a wonderfully edited movie. If I had my choice, Tragedy of Macbeth would absolutely be in here. Some of the best transitions I've ever seen. Don't Look Up was one of those movies. There's a lot of editing. I don't know if it was the best, but it's on here. Animated feature film, maybe the easiest of the day. 5 for 5, duh. I mean, there's nothing else to say. Cinematography, I thought maybe they would just say, I'm done with you, West Side Story. We don't want you anymore. We're going to throw in Belfast because Belfast is one of the leading contenders for Best Picture. And they didn't do it. I was surprised. I'm happy because I think West Side Story is in contention for some of the best cinematography from last year. I think it's great that West Side Story got it. But again, that lack of Belfast love is just is making me think it's not going to win Best Picture. That's the direction that I'm leaning in right now in a lot of these categories. And I know some of the big ones it hasn't. But even then, I'm thinking to myself, wow, it's hard to believe it didn't get in for cinematography, even though these 5 movies are outstanding. This is actually one of my favorite categories in terms of just the quality of the competition. Part of me wanted The Green Knight, but I knew it wouldn't get any love. Costume design, that's fairly easy as well. There's Cyrano's lone nomination. Very surprising that it only got 1. Cruella in there as well. Nice to see Cruella get some love. And here we go. Here's the one. Here's the one for me. And, a lot of you guys are going to ask, Austin, who would you have put Denis Villeneuve above? Personally, okay? I enjoyed Drive My Car. I still need to write a review for it. It's one that I just haven't done yet. I would put Villeneuve over Hamaguchi. I enjoyed Belfast. I thought it was a really wonderful movie, heartfelt, very, centered on the life of Kenneth Branagh, so it means a lot to him. In a heartbeat, snap my finger, I would put Villeneuve above Kenneth Branagh in this category. I love Licorice Pizza. I think Denis Villeneuve did a better job with Dune because of the scale and what he had to do and bring the source material to life than Paul Thomas Anderson and Licorice Pizza. Spielberg's a tougher one. It's a harder conversation for me, as is Campion. I would probably put Villeneuve above Campion. Now, I know a lot of people wouldn't, and I know Power of the Dog is an overwhelmingly beloved film from film people and a lot of critics. I enjoyed Dune more. I thought Dune was a tougher film to handle and capture. Just, again, looking on that scale, I'd put Villeneuve there. So, in the conversation of 1 or 2 for me is where I would put Denis Villeneuve. So, that kind of explains my anger in this category. It explains where I'm at with just the ridiculousness of not putting him in. How do you nominate a movie 10 times in almost every category you can, and it have a shot at Best Picture because out of all the films right now, it's Power of the Dog and then The Field. But within The Field, I think Dune's up there in that conversation. But no director. And we've seen it before, Argo with Affleck, all that stuff. History is history. It speaks for itself. But now we move into a new day. We thought we were relying on history going into this morning. History told us, recent history, last couple of award shows, that Kristen Stewart wasn't getting a nomination. So it's good to rely on history, right? But when you overwhelmingly rely on history, sometimes you get bit in the ass, like I did this morning with Kristen Stewart. But I'm a happy man because of it. It was so nice to see. I thought Being the Ricardos was going to get Best Picture now because the recent history was telling us it was, but it didn't. I was very happy to see that. So at the end of the day, I don't think Dune is out of the Best Picture conversation. It's not out, but its chances just decreased drastically because of the fact that Denis Villeneuve didn't get in. And I hate to see that. I hate to see that because Dune, just the way, even if you didn't love the film, there's no denying Villeneuve's direction. And there's no denying Villeneuve as a director in general who just hasn't gotten the Oscar love. And it makes no sense to me. He's my favorite director, so I'm a little bit biased. I'm of the mindset that the guys deserve to get nominated for a lot of things, for Blade Runner, for this movie, that movie. And he got, Arrival got Best Picture, and now the Dune's got Best Picture. But it's like, he's still not getting the love. He and Christopher Nolan, they never really get the love they deserve. So, kind of sucks. It really sucks. I was very mad, It was so mad. And it's not that any of these directors are bad. This isn't a bad list. Compared to some other years, it's actually a pretty good list. But Denis Villeneuve was on another level. And for me, that other level was enough to get him in that category. And he had everything he needed coming in to this nominations. Everything he needed, which is why I'm just so upset. So I'm done harping on directing. We can talk about the acting super quick. Let's go into supporting role. This was kind of the start of the ceremony. I'm just like, what? Okay, what? Judi Dench over Balfe? Judi Dench over Balfe? I mean, we knew one of the Belfast, but nobody had Dench. I don't care who you ask. Nobody in their right mind thought Judi Dench would get in over Balfe because Balfe has been getting it everywhere. She's gotten every nomination, everything she needed going into this morning, and Judi freaking Dench. Now, I love Judi Dench. I love her. I think she's amazing. So I'm not mad about it, but the expectations. And I think that's the difference between, the word snub. A lot of people like to say, well, The Green Knight got snubbed. The Last Duel got snubbed. They did not get snubbed. They weren't supposed to be there. And I hate it because I love those two movies more than a lot of movies on this list. They weren't supposed to be there. They weren't getting any other nominations. They were not snubs. Okay? They just not. This, Balfe, she's a snub because she was expected to get in, right? She's something, Belfast is a movie that expected to get a lot of nominations, and it did with Judi Dench, but I couldn't believe Balfe didn't get in. And then Jessie Buckley, it's kind of this last second thing. This is a great, a lot of people say, well, the BAFTAs don't matter. I got some of those comments this morning. BAFTAs don't matter. The BAFTAs mattered big time with Jessie Buckley. Big time, because she got the BAFTA nod. She got a few other nods, but nowhere near what Balfe got. Nowhere near, heck, even a Ruth Negga. Even an Ann Dowd, I'd have to look at it. I feel like Ann Dowd got more nominations than Jessie Buckley. I love Buckley. I think she's great in The Lost Daughter. I really do. But it was so shocking to see her get in over a Ruth Negga, who's been getting it everywhere. Like, she pushed out Ann Dowd for me. And Ann Dowd is definitively my favorite performance over any of these performances right here you're seeing on screen. So, wow, I could not believe it. That was a crazy way to start things out. Then we can we can talk about actress in a leading role. Kristen Stewart. Yeah, Kristen Stewart. All the haters out there. Yeah, but she was in Twilight. Stewart deserved it. Stewart got it. So nice to see. I think the big shock here is, well, I guess another one is Penelope Cruz. I certainly didn't expect Penelope Cruz. I thought for sure we would get an Alana Haim or a Rachel Zegler, a Jennifer Hudson. Not putting in a Lady Gaga, I think is what's having a lot of, there's an uproar. It's an uprising. Now, for me, I'm not holding Lady Gaga's performance on the standard that a lot of people are. But compared to a lot of people, I thought she was really good in the film. So I'm not one way or the other. I'm not upset. I'm not, crazy about it. It's one of those that shocked me so much because she looked like the clear frontrunner. She was nominated in every major category, more so than any of these other nominees that she needed. And history said, look at me going back on history again after what I just said. History said that that's all she needed to get an Oscar nomination. So I'm like, yeah, of course. I didn't even worry about her. I said, okay, it's going to be Kidman, it's going to be Gaga. Who else, right? Chastain, yes. Coleman, yes. Kristen Stewart, I love. Gaga not getting in shocked me more than anything. More than anything. So now, who's the front runner? Oh, boy. I go back to my Golden Globes video. I think it's Nicole Kidman. Oh, boy, I hope not. So, yeah, that was very shocking. Let's do actor in a supporting role. Look, J.K. Simmons was surprising. He was fine. He was absolutely fine in being the Ricardos. Was it Oscar-worthy? I don't know. It's hard for me to say when there were so many other great. I mean, heck, you're not going to find anybody else saying this. I think Willem Dafoe should have been in the conversation. But he wasn't for Spider-Man, because it's Spider-Man. It's a Marvel movie. Kotzer, Hines, McPhee were all obvious. Jared Leto not getting in. That was a big one, too. So they just, House of Gucci, across the board, other than a couple of smaller award nominations, but across the board, no acting nominations for House of Gucci. My goodness. So it would have been funny to see Leto with the Razzie and then the Oscar, but we don't get to see that. That's so unfortunate. And, of course, I love something like a Troy Kotzer. Jesse Plemons getting it. Look, I wasn't expecting it. I don't think anybody was expecting it. He hasn't really gotten the nominations anywhere else, okay? 2 supporting noms for Power of the Dog. That may be all it needs to secure that top spot. We'll get to that again. Actor in a leading role, it's just one. It is one. It's Javier Bardem. Being the Ricardo strikes again. I thought for sure it would be someone like a Leonardo DiCaprio. And even after that, I said, okay, well, if it's not Leo, it's Peter Dinklage. They're just not taking Cyrano seriously. Cyrano. Seriously. Cyr. My wild card was Nick Cage. I thought maybe Pig would get something. It is a shame. Now, again, not a snub, okay? Because no one expected it. It's a shame a movie like The Green Knight, a movie like The Last Duel, and a movie like Pig didn't get looked at for Best Picture. My biggest of any of them was Come On, Come On, but Come On hasn't been getting any love, okay, except for, the occasional Woody Norman. But I don't know, man. Some of these movies are just not on the level of some of the ones that got completely overlooked this year. It happens every year, and this is, again, just a personal take, but this year's Oscars, I'm kind of, yeah. And then Best Picture, Belfast, we knew. Coda, we knew. Don't Look Up, it's in there, I knew it would be in there. Drive My Car was the one for me. I thought Being the Ricardos would take that spot, and I kept flipping back and forth. But I went with Being the Ricardos because I didn't give the voters the credit they deserved. And you know what? After all the stupidity we've seen today, y'all deserve credit for putting Drive My Car over Being the Ricardos because it's the right move. So congrats on that one. Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, all 3 expected. Nightmare Alley, not expected. And, if I was going to put Tick, Tick, Boom, which didn't get the nomination over any of these films, it would be Nightmare Alley or Don't Look Up. That's where I would put it, but we knew Don't Look Up was going to get it. So I guess Nightmare Alley is the odd man out. And, not as good as Tick, Tick, Boom, but I do like seeing the movie on there because I enjoyed the film. It's a good film. Just there are different levels to some of the movies that came out last year, and I wouldn't put Nightmare Alley on that level. But again, I don't hate it. The Power of the Dog, obvious, and then West Side Story got the Best Picture nomination. So 8 for 10. I was 8 for 10 at the end of the day for the Best Picture nominees. Very happy with a lot of these choices. Very happy with what we got. If I would have picked the 10 Best Picture nominees, let me tell you right now, this list would look a lot different. And I'm talking a lot different. I'd keep a couple of them. That's it. But for, looking at the way that they normally go, for this group of movies to be their choice, it's not the worst we've ever seen. Obviously, the highlight of the day was Kristen Stewart for me, just because I did not think that's the way they would go. I was so happy with it. And the low point was Denis Villeneuve. I kind of slapped my microphone in the video this morning, but I need your all's thoughts down below. How did you feel about everything? Every single category. What snub, surprise, high point, low point was your favorite or least favorite? And if you're here and you want to see me do some more Oscar content, the next couple of Oscar vids I'm working on, I'm going to be ranking the Best Picture nominees, and then I will be doing my own version of the Oscar nominations along with who I would choose to win later on in March. So that's going to be fun. I can't wait for the Oscars, guys. We got a lot of build-up, so stay tuned to this channel. Got some great reviews coming out this weekend along with some fun tier lists that you do not want to miss. All right, guys, I'll see you soon.